I have insurance, and so I don't need to focus on anything else other than just my physical well-being, because a bike is completely replaceable. And the fact that you have insurance and that you're protected and you're covered, all you need to do is focus on yourself and getting yourself better. Like, I'm going to try and I'm going to take risks and I'm going to take chances, because why else? Why would you not, right? I'm Alicia Speak. I'm 37. I'm a full-time lawyer, but I'm also a cyclist for Cycle Team London.
Ladies and gentlemen, well, this is packed. I've never seen it quite this packed. Unsurprising, really, is it? Because this is the wonderful thing about the Rouleur Classic. We do manage to assemble some of the greats. And about to join me on stage is one of the greats. He is a living legend, 3 times Tour de France winner, double world road race champion, all-round lovely guy as well, more importantly. Put your hands together, please, for the legend that is Mr. Greg LeMond. All right, mate.
I guess.
Oh.
I can't stand that. Don't say that stuff.
No, I feel a bit far away. I'm just going to bring myself a little bit closer.
It's like,
that's better. That's better. We had a little bit of a prologue yesterday, a bit of a chat yesterday. So this.
So I heard we got like 2 hours here now.
Yeah, we can just make yourselves comfortable. We'll just but just don't nod off. Don't nod off. But firstly, Greg, it's lovely to have you here. Thanks.
It's great. Actually, I said this is great atmosphere, and it's an intimate atmosphere, but it also got a beautiful bike show downstairs. Everybody gets to see all the new equipment.
Yeah, you're having a good time. You enjoying it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
No, it's really nice. I mean, I used to do Las Vegas bike show, Interbike, and in the beginning they had these intimate kind of little talks that I do, but it got so big, and then it's the shows today. Now there's no more bike shows, so there's really it's Eurobike. So it's great to have a little bit closer, intimate.
Yeah, it's more of a.
It's great.
Hopefully, it's a bit more of a conversation. And the thing is, you literally could talk for hours.
But you have more than me here. You have
these
other riders.
It's
great to have people get to meet riders they've been watching on TV. No, it's great. It's good.
Yeah,
I'm impressed with the event. I like it.
He's saying all the right things, and what a lovely guest. But Greg, take yourself back, if you don't mind, to
last week.
Not to last week, no. I'm not trying to be a kind of.
I don't have a memory that past last week, so
take yourself back to being the first American to win the Tour de France. Let's go back to 1986. What was it? What was it like? I mean.
Well, I was did an interview before this, so I got to make sure. No, it doesn't matter if I repeat. But when I turned pro, when I started cycling, I didn't know what the Tour de France was, and then I was really pretty good, and I won most of these races I entered. And I came to Europe in 1978, and I said the Americans, probably like the English, had this idea that Eddie Merckx, and they were from another planet, and nobody could compete. And I came here, and I won almost every race I entered as a junior, so I kind of had this deal I could win the Tour de France. It was my objective when I was 17. I wrote a little 4 goals out, and one was to win the Tour when 25. And then when I signed with Renault, which was with Guimard, the objective, I wanted to be like Eddie Merckx and win my first Tour. So I got my first Tour, and I said I got a little bronchitis, and I ended up getting 3rd place, which was probably the most difficult Tour I've ever done, because if you're not healthy, you're dying in it. So that almost kind of shocked me how hard it was. And then the next year, 1985, I was so conservative because of the trauma from the year before, and then I got to the last week, and I'm going, oh my gosh, this is not hard. And
right.
And then at that tour, I was so much stronger than Hino. I didn't realize it, but he was really dying at the last, losing it in the last couple of days. So at the end of that, he was like my brother. It was kind of like, I'd never had any issues with him. I had issues with the team, because at one point I just had 4 or 5 minutes on him, and being told I had to wait because he's only 45 seconds. I'm like, okay, 45 seconds. And I don't use Sean Kelly, but Sean Kelly at that time, really good in the Vuelta Classic, but using the Tour, he was going for the green jersey.
Yeah.
And so I'm waiting for Hino, and here comes Kelly. So I always use that, and Hino's 2 or 3 minutes behind.
Right.
And then the next day, though, I was pissed off, but I wasn't pissed off with him. I was pissed off with Tappy and Paul Coakley. And even the next day, Hino was getting dropped. It was the day that Stephen Roche won Obese. I was physically pushing Hino up,
Right.
So I really did help him win that 5th Tour. And So the following year, it was really crazy because Hino was. But I said Bernard Tapie. They just did a documentary. He's really charismatic, and for French, he was the first capitalist, say in France. That's what he claimed.
Well, he kind of started to shift the business model of cycling and pay people.
He did. Yeah. So he did. And he used me a little bit.
Of course.
In a way, it was good. Actually, I always remember thinking Stephen Roche from Delgado. I don't know if they thanked me, but it was weird because in '84. So Hino was my teammate, so was Fignon. So in '84, Hino had a knee injury, and '83, a knee injury. And I was offered to do the tour, and my objective was the Worlds. Fignon did it, he won, and then Hino left to La Claire. And then in '84, so I struggled there, and I ended up getting third, but I remember L'Alpe d'Huez, so Hino left the team, a lot of my teammates, and I didn't even know who Bernard Tapie was, but in L'Alpe d'Huez, I moved up from 8th place to 3rd or 4th. And I said I had bronchitis, and I was struggling in 8th to 10th place until I had 2 days of recovery. But that day in L'Alpe d'Huez, I had this woman, I kind of smile about it, but it was like I always say this James Bond movie. So I'm sitting there, I'm kind of still young, and some woman in a long black brunette hair, all leather, Monsieur LeMond, come with me, Mr. Tapie wants to see you. And
Sounds
I'm like,
a bit sinister, that.
I just started hearing who Tapie was, but I'm like, I don't know why I did it. I got on it, the motorcycle, kind of hidden, go through L'Alpe d'Huez. And anyways, I ran into Tapie and Hino were in a room. And the first thing Tapie said, how would you like to make more money than you can ever imagine? He showed me this look pedal. And I'm like, I don't know, tell me about it. And so he offered me like a pedal, a $1 pedal. And so, I mean, I had no clue.
So he offered you a share
at that time,
a share in
funny
look.
thing is,
Wow.
I found the contract. He never paid me a dime.
Oh, right, okay.
I found a $1 pedal.
Because let's be honest, they shifted a few units,
sold a
didn't
lot
they?
of it.
They
Yeah.
shifted a lot of units, yeah.
So some people do stuff and they don't honor what they claim. But he offered me, I'll tell you what I was making at that time, $100,000. And I think Hino was making, even if the Tour de France winner was maybe $150,000. Now, he offered me $1 million. Now, everybody thought it was $1 million a year. It was $300,000 a year. Right. Still way more.
You were the first $1 million cyclist, weren't you?
Well, see, that's what everybody thought. So it's like 1 year per year. It wasn't.
Right. Okay.
But it worked like so I won the tour in '86, and I remember hearing that Stephen Roche won. There was other guys that probably were the first $1 million because everybody thought I was making $1 million a year.
Yeah. Okay.
So
okay.
it was good for all the other riders, but it was still so much money. But I remember going back on. Told my wife, I couldn't even sleep. I'm like, it was crazy. But I did not want to leave the team, and I went back to Cyril Guimard, and
There's a real loyalty there. I mean, he nurtured you as a young rider.
I love Guimard.
You won the Worlds
He
under
was
his
the best
tutelage. You were white jersey winner on the Tour. Had a great relationship with Lance. So it was a big decision for you.
Big decision, but I went back to Guimard. I was making 100, and they're offering me 330. And I said, all I wanted was $50,000 more. That's it. He said, no, you got to. So the mentality was, you got to first win the tour 3 or 4 times, and then you make money. I'm kind of going, 3 or 4 times? I have to win the tour 3 or 4 times before I make money? This is insanity. I might be out of the sport the next year. But he did one mistake. He said, I will never win the Tour de France without him. Without him.
Yeah.
That sealed the deal. I'm gone. And so that's
was that a real? As soon as he said it, was immediately in your mind was like, okay, I'm gone.
I'm gone.
If you don't respect me and trust me.
Yeah, I mean, so what does that mean? I mean, you're not that much power. You don't hold any power over me.
Yeah.
I took it a lot of different ways. I don't want to get into it because I go, what does that mean? So he said I did the tour because I was sick. I mean, I was. He said I did one leg compared to anybody else, but I took it as going, I never been owned by anybody. Nobody, you'll never find a coach did this or that. I was always my own person. So when he did that, I'm like, screw you, I'm done. Okay. So that's when I went to La Claire. And so
the coolest kit is, apart from Zed, it is pretty much one of the coolest kits of all time, isn't it?
It was, yeah.
It's a cool kit.
But Renault was the best. It was.
Renault
we won
classy.
10 stages in '84, and I was third and first. And we had, Guimard was the best coach. I mean, Fignon, Hino, myself, Mattios, incredible riders. So I didn't want to leave that team, but I said, I'm not going to be. It just wasn't even logical what he was saying. Yeah. So I ended up going with Hino, and it was good, but it was really crazy going from a really great team with a great director to a team that was really not too bright. And Coakley and I was used to very good, smart strategy, and it drove me crazy because we'd have.
Coakley was more of a coach than a director,
he thought he was really
wasn't he?
smart. He wasn't.
Right,
I mean, I remember the Giro d'Italia. He's got this Michelin guide, and it's like, dis donc, il y a 3-4 flèches ici, 10 kilomètres comme ça, and we had the whole team going to ride in the front like we're going to drop everybody, and I'm going, okay, 3 flesh is like 1 flesh. It's like 5% grade, not 12%.
Right.
And see, but our riders were like riding up there because he said to do that.
And everyone's just sat on the slipstream.
Sat on there. And then at the very last climb, Hino and I Hino got dropped, but we were sitting, and I'd go back sitting in the peloton, and I'd get Hino and Coakley get up there pissed at it. So I was really, it was hard when you race with a really smart team. Then, Hino was a very strategic rider, but Guimard really made him. Yeah. Guimard could tell him when to attack, and he really won races almost out of like taking risks, which were kind of not really smart. Like some of the stuff he did, even when I was racing in '86.
He rode with a swagger, didn't he?
If he was smart, he would have won.
Yeah.
I mean, he almost knocked me out the day before. In '86, he took a 5-minute lead on me going into post. So anyways, but in '85, I was really loyal to Hino, and I ended up, but we made an agreement that he was going to work for me in '86. So, and it seems like it was yesterday.
Yeah, clearly.
And I tend to give too much credit to people, but I look back, I said it was still a really good victory in '86 because I said it. I think in '86 he was absolutely going to work for me until about June, and he went to Colombia, started doing a little bit better racing there, had a couple of good results. And a week before the tour, it was the first time I'm going, oh, God, there's going to be trouble. And he said, well, we're going to see after the first time trial who's the leader. And I'm going, well, that's not the deal. I mean,
did you immediatally confront him and say, hey, whoa?
No, because I felt really confident I was going to win the time trial.
Right.
And I was.
So you kind of bought. Okay, I'm calling on a
Yeah, I mean, I was riding incredibly well, and even in the team time trial, I was dropping Hino, and pulling like 4 or 5 times longer than anybody else. But in the time trial, so I get in the time trial, I have a flat, I break the wheel, and we're basically even. And now but he takes the victory. Right. In his mind, he's the leader, and I'm going. And this is where I go, I'm American, and so now Hino starts going, he's got Tappy going.
He's got more alliances.
Screw the American, screw the American.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but sometimes I go, I don't blame him, he got 5 tours, and he would have been a record 6. But it was really weird dynamics, because it's interesting, because now Jean-François Bernard, some of these guys are now talking more honestly, and they did an interview, and it's kind of, the one stage in, I don't know if this is getting back into history of cycling, I don't know if anybody knows what I'm talking about, but there's the first stage, semi-mountain stage up the Marie Blanc into Pau, and I'm kind of racing, we're kind of going along, the feed's coming up, and Dill's not attacking the feed, but I see my teammates, like Jean-François Bernard, talking to Suspended Reynolds. I see something going on, and all of a sudden there's attacking through it, and I come out, and then the peloton stops. So now we don't have radios there. So I'm putting my bags in here, and I'm just kind of going, I'm thinking he knows there. The first thing, they got a card, the chalkboard.
Yeah.
It's like 4 minutes up, 3-4 minutes up, with, I think Delgado, forgot who else, 4 or 5 minutes up. And so how am I going to chase that guy down the yellow jersey?
Yeah.
So I'm waiting, and I think 20 Ks to go. It's approaching 5.5 minutes. I'm like, screw this, I'm done. And I took off with Lucha, and I don't know how, maybe it would have been 7 minutes, because it was 5 minutes
Did
down.
Lucha ride with you? Did you share that, or was he?
He did at the beginning. He tacked, but I rode all the way into the finish, and then Hino he found out I rode by myself with Lucha, and we almost got in a fist fight there. And so that was the day, that's when I did screw it. And I knew I had to make, the next day I said, this is crazy, I got to make it all back.
But when you look back at, changing teams and going into a team that didn't have the same kind of infrastructure, and the same kind of support from a managerial perspective and a coach perspective, you had to learn quick. You had to really step up.
We had great riders. Like Nicky Rudiman, we had Steve Bauer. We had a really great team.
Andy Hampson.
Andy Hampson. But no matter what, it was Hino's team. It was Tappy, and but I wasn't being told everything that was going on. And I say that because now it turns out, they made an arrangement with the Spanish riders. So this was all arranged. When that happened, it was all planned. Prior to that, already planned. So that's, going back, so this was all pre-planned.
So there's a real rift now in the team, isn't there? Kind of heading into the back end of the tour. Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, the next day I said, I'm making back 5 minutes. And fortunately, I said not too bright in tactics, because the next day his ego gets up there and he attacks on the descent of the Tour of LA, and I'm going, good. Go out there.
How far to go at this point?
What's that? Oh, so you had Tour of LA descent, then you had 3 or 4 climbs, and you had Super Banier. And so I'm like, oh, good, okay. Stay out there. And we caught him just before the Super Banier, and I took back 5 minutes on him. But but it was really, it's.
And how did that go down with Bernard when you finished back at the hotel? Was it like eggshells time, or did he concede defeat? Did he?
No.
No.
but then he started using it. I did that to help Greg win. I attacked him.
Of course he would.
What he wanted to do is a knockout. That means he got 5 minutes to go down, another 3 or 4 minutes. That's what he's hoping.
Yeah.
And put 8 minutes, and I would have been maybe knocked out. I don't know. But at one point, I think it was like 3 days later, and this is the problem. I should have just like, screw this, and this is where I kind of go. These teams where they have 2 riders, do not, I'm saying this young Colombian that just won, do not, it's not as good as Chris is, whatever. Yeah. If I'm that team, split them in 2 and race against each other, because at the end of the day, ultimately the person who's strong is going to win, but when you're 2 equal people, usually the seniority gets the upper hand, and when you're young, you kind of give yourself up to that, and I learned the hard way that at the end of the year career, there's no friendship like that. So, but I'd say I think. Anyways, it was a lot of stuff that I wasn't aware of, and I did have Andy Hampston that did help me a couple stages, but really I had no dedicated teammates at all.
Wow.
And my teammate and I said going into Gap was Robert Miller, and. Because
who you saw yesterday?
Yeah, I saw yesterday.
I was going to say about that. Just a quick sidestep from that. It must have been great to see. So Pippa, and also Phil Anderson, who's on next.
Phil, yeah, we had some right chat. We had some good talks last night. Because Robert was, Pippa, but Robert was. I really liked his. He was always an F word. Glasgow, always complaining about. He was my teammate.
You knew what you get.
I liked him.
You knew what you were going to get. Yeah. It's like, this is it. There's no
But
pretense.
he was on Panasonic at the time, and so going into Gap, it was a really strong side when you're going, the Rhone area where you're passing like in, I forgot, Valence, south of Valence. And he knows, and the teams that, I'm chasing, going back, and he knows going, and all of a sudden, again, it split and stopped. It's not normally you just keep going and team would go, but there was a conscious decision by not just multiple teams to stop and isolate me again. And I went up to Robert and I said, Robert, I'll let you win any stage if you get your team to chase this down. I can't chase by myself.
Right.
So he got his team up there, and it was great because Nicky Ruderman, the Swiss riders, 2 Swiss riders, I always joke that their team was divided into the French, the Swiss who were neutral, and then 3 of us, Andy Hampson, Steve Barr, and myself.
Because back then, was it teams of 10 back then?
Yeah.
Teams of 10 in the tour, wasn't it, back at that time?
Yeah, 10. But as we got in that breakaway, so Nicky Ruderman and Vinterberg were Swiss riders, but they said, no, we're not going to ride with Hino. They said no, and Hino said, if you don't ride, you're out. So that day I got back into Gap. This is like 2 days before L'Alpe d'Huez, and I was quitting. I told Tapi and Hino, I'm done. I'm leaving. I packed my bags up. So that day. And then they said, oh, well, calm down. He'll work for you. But it was his game all the way to the end.
So the dinner table, of course, in bike racing is an important place to be. What was that like? Or did he have his own one?
At one point, my wife was there. I'd go to dinner. It was just, I raced by myself. It was nobody.
Literally, you were separate.
Because even Andy Hampson Bauer really put into a difficult situation. So I know most of the team was for me, but they couldn't show that. And so it was really, even from Super Banier on, it was just me. And
that must have been immensely, we talk, many of the riders now who are winning the Tour de France talk about not just the physical effort of the Tour, it's the immense pressure of the media, the spotlight they're under, but when you've got the addition of the rider that you respect, that you helped win the Tour previously is against you, it must have been borderline sleepless nights kind of situation.
It was crazy, because, I look back at it, and it was crazy. Because the next day, I think, into going over the Izoard up to Granon, Hino had another bad day, took the yellow jersey, and then the night before the next stage, or the morning of, we're going to decide the winner of the Tour at the end of L'Alpe d'Huez. Or not, wasn't really even that clear. Because the way they've said that beforehand, it would have changed race the deal. But the next day, Hino starts attacking on the descent. And so how many times can I chase him down?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's okay to let a breakaway get away and let him out there kind of flounder. And on the Galibier, again, people would just stop riding with me, literally stop riding.
What about Zimmerman?
No, he just stopped.
Right, okay.
So then I'd be isolated, and I'm like, Coakley comes, I'm just telling this is all war story. But
great. Well,
so there's a stage from
great.
Briançon, you go up Col de Galibier.
Yep.
The down, you go Col de Granon up d'Huez. And so on the descent, it's Hino, Bauer, 5 or 6 Cavastani, a few other riders up front. And Coakley, as I'm riding with Zimmerman, you can't ride with anybody. And I'm on the descent, and he wants me to stop riding. And so you had the little telegraph, the little climb there, and I'm like, he came up when I said, F word, screw you. And I took off, and
wow.
I heard,
totally
I heard
totally
Zimmerman almost crash, and I took a risk on that descent like I've never taken, and I caught Hino and everybody at the bottom. And so Hino was shocked. So anyways, this was the type of atmosphere, and even then I get into the break, and I'm going up the climb, I'm dropping Hino, and he's, please, my legs hurt, my knees hurting, okay. And then he's like, Greg, you're gonna win the race, you're gonna win the Tour, I'll ride in front if Zimmerman comes back. So this is the way it was, and then Tappy in the bottom of the climb just said, Greg, you've won the Tour, let Hino lead, it's his last race, wins the stage. I do that, and then at the top of the stage, Hino's like, oh no, the race isn't over till the time trial.
God almighty.
And the crazy thing,
you ushered him across the line in that one as well. You finished way in front.
Honestly, it was the easiest ride up I've ever done at L'Alpe d'Huez, and I wish I said to him, I wish you would have told me that before at the bottom.
I was on like turn 5 or something, by the way.
Really?
As a kid from the top watching
Seriously?
you. I had a little knotted handkerchief on my head.
I think I saw you.
That was me.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and I know we said it yesterday, it was a different crowd in tonight, but that detracting too much from the story. That was the day that I wanted to be a professional cyclist.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was the day that I decided. My dad took me, saw you guys ride up, and I spent a week at the Tour, and it really, I'm sure people here are inspired by it. But no, and that was it.
How old were you?
I was 16.
16, yeah.
When you won the Tour, and you're my hero.
So I was 17 when I saw the Tour de France go outside of Geneva, and that's really the age when you see something, you go, that's what you want to do.
That's it. You kind of got this focus that's set.
So that's So, I mean, at the end, the next day was interesting because the next day, I had a teammate, Bernard Vallet, who was at the time on the team. He was now on La Redoute. Yep. And he offered, this is crazy, he wanted to take me down. And so I only find this out of Maurice Luggio, which was Hino's right-hand man. Now he's a co-director sportif. And he told me this after the time trial a couple days later. But Valet was offering to take me down in a crash. And so then,
proper like hitman territory.
Yeah, it was crazy. Now that night, so we show up in Saint Etienne. And my wife and I, Kathy, I think my parents with me, maybe, at dinner. Kathy, yeah. And so
that's Kathy.
Jacques,
she was going to do a song, but she's kind of, no, she's
at
not.
the time, Louis Vuitton, not Louis Vuitton, what's Leviton was a director, Louis Vuitton, Leviton was a director.
Felix Leviton.
Felix Leviton.
Yeah.
And Jacques Godet came back. At that year, he was Jacques Godet. Jacques Godet was the director of the Tour. Very stately, experienced man. He comes up to my wife and I, and he said, Greg, be careful everything you do. Watch what you eat, watch what you drink, watch your bike. People don't want you to win the Tour de France. And this is my wife, and like, okay.
Oh my God.
So the next day, the time trial, and so my wife thinks it was sabotage, but I, took off in the time trial, and I came in a little hot into a turn, and I crashed. Sure, she thought it was sabotage, wasn't. But
was that Saint Etienne?
Saint Etienne, yeah. But it created a little drama because they were convinced that happened. And then I had another bike change. And sadly, I wanted to win more stages, but I lost 2 time trials because of a crash and flat. Even then, I've won that race. It wasn't really over until like Puy de Dôme, like
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was always moving the goalpost. But I would say this, I mean, I was so paranoid, and I think Kathy reminded me, Bernard Tapie, she said, we're openly admitted we're worried about the drug controls. And he goes, don't worry, I'll take all the drug files in my jet to the lab. We're like, well, that's not what we said. We don't like. But I did the drug test, because there's a lot of ways you can manipulate it. And if you've been to a drug test, so you have your 3 vials, flacons, and then you pee in one, they divide it, and so I went in, and at the time you had to strip down naked. Yep. I think Michel Pontier, 5 or 6 years earlier, had kind of a hairy catheter, something like that. He was caught trying to cheat.
Well, he got caught because they did the test and they found out he was pregnant.
But
His
that's
wife's
right.
week. That's why he got busted.
I think you're
Massive
right.
flaw in that plan. Yeah.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
But I stripped down, and I had a Kodak Instacam, a little Kodak camera, and a bottle of mineral water up unopened, and this has never happened before. And I said, okay, good. And I took the water, rinsed all the vials, peed, divided it. So now I knew there's no way there's a trace into it. And then, because what they do is, they divide it and they seal the A sample, B sample, and then you put this stupid, 18th century wax
on it,
and a stamp that I could go get anybody to make in a day. So I could actually fake it. So I'm going, okay, how do I make sure this doesn't get tampered with? So as they're heating it, I shoved my thumb, my fingerprint on it, right on the seal, and then I took photos of the whole B sample. So I was that paranoid.
That level, blimey.
And so I wasn't positive, which is great, but it was a very. I mean, I was just talking before that. I mean, that winter, I ended up getting in an accident the early next spring, broke my wrist, and then got shot.
Yeah.
But part of that was I was really
We
down.
hardly even scratched the surface. I'm just immersed.
I got a few lead pellets. I mean, but it was part of it was it was a big letdown. I mean, I dreamed about winning the tour, and then to win it really against a lot of odds, and then be told that I was given the tour. Plus, it was just kind of it was like a deception by my friend. Was like my friend and a bigger brother. And I know that winter, I was like, I didn't care if I raced again. And so I didn't really train as much as I normally did. And until I got back to Europe, I'm going, what am I thinking? I said, kind of like you're alone, you're kind of, looking at all the downside of it. But then I got back and started racing, started feeling better. But I broke a wrist in Tirreno because I wasn't in the shape I should have been. I should have been right in the front. But that's kind of if you think about, it's great to win it, but then you have the ramifications of that stress, which is really, I paid for that. I always look at it as kind of a lead into getting shot the next year. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but I was, to be honest, it was like, at one point I didn't really care if I raced again after the 86. And that was just, it's just kind of like your letdown. You dream about it, and then you win it, and you win it fair and square. But at the end of the day, I had a nice couple-year break from racing the tour, and got shot, and that got me motivated again. I like to come back from the back. I like to come down from here, write me off, and I'm always going to come back.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, you've got this remarkable resilience. All kind of champions have, but that was particularly. I mean, we've only got a couple of minutes left, but just describe to us how dark it was. I mean, and I know that you were. With the reports in the press, obviously years before the incident, we got little bits out in Britain what had happened to you, but I understand your actual physical condition after it was far worse than what was actually released in the press. You were near death, weren't you?
Yeah, I could strip down. I got no, but I actually was just talking about this before, and so I came back and I was told I wasn't going to race. I had a broken wrist, and for 6 months, and uncle had a farm. There was turkey season, spring, and I went there first time ever turkey hunting. My brother-in-law thought it was a turkey, shot me. So, but it was really severe. I was right lung collapsed. I was minutes from death.
12 pints of blood or something you lost?
I lost whatever. I went down to below 19. So you got 45%, 45. Your number 45% hematocrit at under 19, and they didn't give a blood transfusion because the blood bank was positive, infected with HIV at the time. Jeez. And so there was no blood transfusions at that time. And the doctor knew I was an athlete and said my blood volume was higher. So they gave me plasma, saline fillers. But when I got shot, my brother-in-law just freaked out. They thought they killed me, and then he had to be stopped from doing something. And we were all, I was sitting there kind of, I couldn't, when I got shot, I thought my gun went off, and I still have this broken fingernail here from a pellet went through it, and I kind of look, and I'm going, And I said, who shot? But my right lung was collapsed, so it was like gurgling blood. And I didn't know, my uncle told me I had blood just kind of squirting out of my back. And so it's all happening very quickly, and I'm trying to talk, and I'm trying to calm my brother, and I'm tell my uncle, don't let him do anything. Like,
you can see that he's such a nice guy that you'd been shot, but I'm going to take control of the situation.
I was directing this. Please watch him, because he thought he killed me, and I thought he was almost. I thought he was going to kill himself, and so. But after we called the ambulance, and after about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, nobody's showing up. I said, come on, we got to get out of here. I'm telling them. And so we went up, and we're crazy. The police fire. They're up at the gate because it's locked. Got a little chain there. They're sitting there waiting, and we're down below. It was insanity. But I was very fortunate. I got there, and the police, they had a helicopter police. There was a car accident in the town of Lincoln that I was at, and he was ready going back to Sacramento. He just said, I'm going to come back. I'm just going to see about this shooting. And he landed. If he wasn't there, I would be dead. And I was helicoptered straight to Sacramento Trauma Center. And I would say it was my wife's, first saw me, I was sitting in like a hammock, but like this, and blood was just dripping down. So all I remember is kind of like those war movies or the Vietnam where you're coming off the helicopter, and you go in, and it's really, they kept asking my address, and after about 50th time, I started swearing, like, what the hell do you guys want my address again for? They're trying to keep me awake. But I go in, and they punched a chest tube in. That's the last thing I remember. But it was incredible pain. And I think we're a little bit denial that we didn't really, I think it was kind of like, it was probably good, but I think my family wasn't really quite prepared for being this injured, because it was kind of like, then we became aware that I might not race again. So then you started not really telling the press what was happening, just almost for survival. But no, it was quite severe, and really severe. And 2 months later, I could barely walk from here to there. And so, but it's crazy. And when I think about it, my dad went back. So 1 month after I got shot, Bernard Tapie wrote me this letter about, in French, when they write in French, it's so beautiful. It's like, cher collègue, our last 2-3 years are romantic. We love you, each other, but you're fired, you have no more jobs. So that's what it's like.
That's support for you, isn't it?
And I just started a bike company, and I had no income after that, and it was incredibly stressful. But the only team, my dad went back to the tour, and I said, I kind of had this, kind of the reputation. When people tell me I can't do something, or you can't eat ice cream, you can't do that, I'm going, come on. I'm not an idiot. There's no magic here. But there was all these myths. So, I started playing golf a little bit on rest days, and then the rumor was I was playing golf in the Tour de France, and I'm going, God, if I'm playing golf and I'm winning the Tour, shit, that's okay. I must be really, really good. I wasn't golfing to the Tour, but I did take a Big Mac, just because they said, oh, hamburgers are so bad. I said, well, it's calories. I'm burning so many calories. So when I got shot, believe it or not, I got letters, and in the press was like, okay, the guy who eats pizza, burgers, and golfs got what he deserved. That was the response. So they wrote me off, and I'd say just last one, but no, I'd say but there were 2 teams that were going to take me, was PDM and Carrera. So I went with PDM, but I had to show up in September. Had to show up and do a race, or they wouldn't take me. So that's kind of where. So I did show up in September, and I did 1 mile of a criterium, and I got on the team. So.
Well, Greg, and from that point, obviously, you went on to win another 2 Tour de France, another World Road Championships, and a Trailblazer. And so, we haven't even scratched the surface of what you've done, but it's been a pleasure to listen to your stories.
Yeah, I can talk
You're
forever.
reminiscing. Yeah. Put your hands together,
Thank
please,
you.
for Mr. Greg LeMond.
Thank you. So I get off?
Yeah. An utter legend. I'm sorry we couldn't do any talking any longer. We could have gone on for hours and hours, but I hope you enjoyed that. But please stay around because we've got another legend coming up, speaking to Simon Brotherton, and that is Phil Anderson in just a few minutes' time. Thanks very much indeed. Cheers.